Boy, we are in the Wayback Machine today. Now, you may not recognise their names, but Mike Stock, Matt Aitken and Pete Waterman have produced some of the biggest hits in musical history.
Come on, tell me you're not singing along at home. Now a podcast by journalists Gavin, Scott and Matthew Denby is taking you back in time to discover the story behind each song. And they join us now in studio. Good morning, guys.
Hey,
how are
you?
This is just awesome. So what made you want to go down this path? Where did it all begin for you two?
Well, there were two reasons we wanted to do this. The first was that often when people have spoken about Stock Aitken Waterman in the past, it's been quite negative. In Australia, they were criticised for not using real instruments because it was all synthesizers and drum machines. And in the UK, they had more than 100 hits, and so there was a backlash, of course. So we wanted to come at this from a positive perspective. You know, why were these songs so great? Why were they so popular? And we also wanted to tell the artists' stories. Why did they come and work with Stock Aitken Waterman? What did it do for their careers? And then what happened afterwards? And obviously, in some cases, it's like Kylie and Rick, and they're still around, and in some cases, not.
Well, let's talk about one of the first big hits, which was You Spin Me Round, which I didn't know that was their first big hit until I listened to your podcast, Matt.
Yeah.
This is Dead or Alive. Why did this set the course for them?
Well, because they took, it was kind of the Stock Aitken Waterman template, because they took underground dance club sounds and made it accessible to a mass pop audience. So that was their first ever #1, a huge around the world. And then, you know, before that they couldn't get arrested. And then after that, everyone in the record industry goes, we want to sound like that. Bananarama said, we want to do Venus, but we want it to sound exactly the same as You Spin Me Round. So then they had that massive hit in Australia. You remember that was #1 here for 7 weeks.
Yeah.
Flow-on effect that Mushroom Records sees this and says, we want to make records like that. And along comes a little lady called Kylie Minogue.
Wow.
Stuff.
Another interesting one, of course, is Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up. So it was a massive hit, of course, in 1987. It had that sound that kind of really defined the decade.
Oh, yeah.
But then it got new life again when the internet arrived.
Yeah, it's the gift that keeps on giving, that song. And it was huge in 1987, #1 in America, which wasn't always the case with Stock Aitken Waterman. They broke America. And unusually for them with that song, they spent a lot of time getting it right. They worked very quickly. They were the hit factory, but with that song, they took the time. It took months on it. And it's timeless. And so, yeah, you've had the Rickrolling. The lyrics are always popping up in memes on social media. At my daughter's school disco the other week, they played it. A bunch of 9-year-olds
He
dancing.
just did Glastonbury.
Yeah.
The Foo Fighters love him.
Yeah.
Everyone loves it. It's a
Everyone
classic.
loves Rick. Let's go back to Kylie then, Matt, because this is the thing now. For us as Aussies, we really adopted the Stock Aitken Waterman sound when Kylie really took it on board and she was there. But this song, please. How did that partnership come about?
Well, Kylie's debut single, Locomotion, was made in Australia as a Stock Aitken and Waterman sound-alike record. They wanted it to sound like Dead or Alive. They wanted it to sound like Bananarama. And then it became one of the biggest-selling Australian singles of the 80s. And they go, how do we follow this up? The only way you can do that is to go to England. And so they sent Kylie to England to work with Stock Aitken and Waterman. The only problem was nobody told Mike Stock and Matt Aitken that she was coming. And she sat around in a hotel room or in the lobby waiting for a week. Then they said, oh, we've really got to get her in the studio because she's flying back to Australia today. So she recorded I Should Be So Lucky that morning. And they wrote it and recorded the whole thing in under 40 minutes.
No.
Amazing, isn't it? And, you know, she left the studio a little disgruntled after the way she'd been treated.
Well, no one leaves Kylie in a corner.
No.
Back in the day.
They talked her around and no one could ignore this. No one could ignore that kind of success.
Yeah.
So then she made some of the best records of her career with them, like Better the Devil You Know, which is coming up. And she's still working with them now because she's going to be in their new stage musical. She's going to be a hologram in a new jukebox musical they're doing.
So all's well that ends well.
Absolutely.
Gavin, in the last episode, you had Jason Donovan on the show to talk about his music. What did he reveal about his experience?
I mean, Jason was pretty successful here in Australia, but in the UK, he was massive. It was next level. He had the highest selling album of 1989 out of anyone over there. So it was a whole nother thing. So he talked about that mania and just what it was like coping with that, dealing with that. But he also revealed that it was a little bit frustrating not having that much input. Stock Aitken and Waterman, they liked the singers to come in, give their vocal and off they'd go. And sometimes the artists wouldn't even know what the song was going to sound like until it was all done. So that was a little bit frustration, but Jason also had a lot of respect for, you know, their talent.
Yeah, guys, congratulations. I love this podcast, as you both well know. Everyone should be listening to it. If you love that old school music and you love this, these are the guys for you. Congratulations on it. We'll speak to you again soon.
Thank you
so much.
Have a listen to A Journey Through Stock Aitken and Waterman wherever you get your podcast. A Journey Through Saw. Still to come. The star of Sea Change in Wentworth, Aussie acting royalty Sigrid Thornton joins us live to discuss her new movie. Don't go anywhere.